So, important thing first, we will talk about the version 6.1. What are the modules? What is the exam format? What are the things that you need to be prepared with to start with the CCIE Sec lab exam? Then we can discuss about some technical topic. We can pick a ASA versus FTD, and we can do some labs today to see how these are performed. All right. So first we will start with the modules. So you guys might already be aware that there are two tracks here in CCI Security. One being the core exam mandatory paper, which is a MCQ format, multi-question format, and the second one is a 8 hours of lab. All right. So the MCQ would be of 70 to 90 minutes. There would be questions up to 120 questions, but they will be MCQ based. No scenarios, no design, no troubleshooting, just MCQ. So, like your regular CCNA. So, if you clear this score paper, you are then eligible to book your lab exam. Over on the website, it is still reflecting 6.0, but Cisco has revised it to 6.1. So there is no major difference. There is just partial 2 to 4% of difference from 6.0 to 6.1. Okay, so we will be covering our training from 6.1 perspective. So this is point number one, that there are two papers. One is score, second one is a lab exam. Now, how would we cover? So I would be going with this structure. So if you can see my screen, we will go with this structure. We will have the score and ASA. So let's say if I'm picking up the ASA module first. Okay, so I'll be starting with ASA FTD. And once this is completed, then we can start with our second module, which is the score paper. Then we will go with the SVPN, and then we'll go with Cisco ICE. Then we'll go with ESA, WSA, malware, email, and the web security appliance. And then finally, we will have a quick boot camp. So this would be easily a 6 month duration taken during weekends only. Okay. So it's a 6 month program altogether, because each module would take at least a 1 to 1.5 or 2 months sometimes. Okay. So this is how the flow would be, starting with Cisco ASA FTD, then moving to Score, then moving to SVPN, then to Cisco ICE, ESA, WSA, and the bootcamp, the CCI bootcamp. And then you would be prepared. You need to prepare for your exam. And in case if you're score certified, then you can book your lab exams as well. Okay, so this is a 6 to 7 month of preparation, plus the number of hours that you can additionally add during the 6 months. That depends if you can come up with the lab. But again, some people don't go immediately to the lab attempt, right? They need some more time to prepare. So you can have some more time, let's say another 2 3 months to prepare for all the topics, and then if you want, you can. Or if let's say the lab exam is of not your concern, but upskillment is something which you are looking for, then you can also pursue this course from the upskillment process, because you are going to touch base firewalls, you're going to touch base Cisco ICE, the security VPN topics, right? So which are nowadays used or been asked in a lot of job interviews. So it depends on you what you need. You need it from job level, or you need it from the CCI rank perspective, or you need it from the upskillment point of view, right? But this is going to remain the structure of it. Okay, now I'll also show you the exam pattern. I believe you are clear with the score paper, which was a MCQ. Okay, it's a written paper. So there would be a question with multiple options, and you have to select one or two or drag and drop. This would be the pattern for it. So once you have cleared this exam, then you can book your lab. So you will have a 3 years of validity, by the way. So within this 3 year, you can book anytime your lab, and that lab is of 8 hours. And nowadays, the CCI labs are divided into two modules. So what are the two modules? That module one is the design, and module two is from deploy, operate, optimize. Now, for how the design would be constructed. So this is once again going to be MCQ based, but not like the score paper. This will be bit advanced one. So initially what happens, let's say on the day of lab, initially you will start with the design paper of 3 hours. Okay. So your countdown has begun. So your countdown is now been going in a reverse direction. So you would be given at least 10 to 20 questions. The scenarios would be provided, the IP schemas, access to some of the CLI commands, access to some of the reading documents would be given, and you will answer it scenario by scenario. Okay. So once you have done with this, then only you can move to the next section of 5 hours. And also remember, there is no going backwards here. There is no way if you done with the first one and then you go to second, you cannot come back and do some changes on the first one. There is no backward options that Cisco let you have in the design I'm talking about. So you will always proceed in this way, no going back, and also no taking notes at this point. If the examiner will see that you're taking any CLIs or copying down any CLIs in your notepad or in a text, he will immediately ask you to vacate the seat, right? So no taking any reference. You have enough time, 3 hours, spend it to get the design section done. If you able to finish it by 2 hours, you are good to close this and then move on to the next module. But that 1 hour is not carry forwarded. It's only 3 hours fixed. If you complete 30 minutes, don't expect the remaining hours would have been taken to module two. Okay, there is no carry forward option. You can just save some time from that 8 hours. You don't have to sit for 8 hours long. If you did the design in 2 hours, might be 1 hour. You can save it. You can come out of the exam hall 1 hour early. Okay, because you are reserved by 3 hours here and 5 hours here. So this is up to you. If you take 2 hours, you can start immediately the module one. Again, that's a countdown timer. Starts with 5 hours, keeps decreasing, and over here you have a lot of things. You have a troubleshooting scenario. You might have options to optimize. You might have tasks to fix something. You might have complete end-to-end configurations, a remote access VPN, a DM VPN, a complete configuration. So this 5 hours is where you need to have a good solid uh, knowledge to get your commands done in a very, very faster way. Because here is where most of people face the crunch of time. The 5 hours will look very less. You might think that if you would have 10 hours, I could have complete the entire questions that's asked in the module 2. So this is where people actually fail because of not having a proper time management. So you must at least practice before going to the lab for at least 10-20 times the complete scenarios without referring, definitely. All right. So that is the key here, the speed. The speed. If you can get your speed, then you can crack this exam. Otherwise, if you think you write something, remove something, spend a lot of time on troubleshooting something, you will miss out the rest of the questions. Okay. So wisely give enough time to the module 2, which is 5 hours. And the questions asked would be something coming from configure ASA over on a remote access VPN, or it could be something to do with, let's say, a site to site VPN, or could be a context concept, or could be to configure a routed mode of ASA. Similar way, when you go to the FTT, you can expect questions like a site-to-site VPN. You will expect questions coming from Cisco ICE, where you have to onboard with over on DNAC. You will expect questions coming from a Flex VPN concept over on a Cisco iOS product, right? You can expect questions coming from a layer 2 attack, right? So let's say there's an attack uh, scenario and it's been asked to shape the traffic or to do the needful. So how do you secure your control plane? So this kind of questions are being asked in the module 2, and these are all end-to-end config. If you make a simple mistake, you will not get the validation. And points are given, let me tell you, points are given based on the validation. Are you good with your output or not good with the output? If you do a good output, you get the point set. Let's say if it is a 1 point, you get that. If let's say that was a 3 points, you get that. There is nothing like giving half points to it. You done half, so the examiner giving you two, okay, or a half. There's no concept of that. They give you either full or they don't give you at all. They give you just zero. So there is no chance of doing a half completion or just finish off the config and not bothered about validation. It is all that validation that matters. Are you able to ping from one side to other side? Are you able to take the trace route from one side to other side? Are you able to get the output of show crypto IPsec command? So that is what matters, not your config. They will not even check your config. They will check only the validation. And on basis of that, you get either full mark or you get zero. That's all. Okay. So this is how the CCI Sec is module 1, module 2. Module 1 is designed based on some enterprise case studies. The questions would be framed. You will read it. You will check through the given CLIs, given IP schema, and you will answer it. The module 2 is more about end-to-end configuration, troubleshooting, getting out the output for you. All right. So this is how this current syllabus is, current module looks like, exam pattern for CCI set. And how do you get yourself cleared, or how do you come to know the passing mark? So both design and the do process has respective lower scores. Say for example, if here the lower score is 50, and let's say the lower score here is 100. Okay. But in case someone gets, let's say, 55, which is plus 5, correct? It's a plus 5. But if you don't get minimum 100, but you got, let's say, 95 here, might be the total will still come to the passing score, right? 50 plus 100 is 150, and 55 plus 95 is also 150. But from the Cisco perspective, this would be fail. Okay, so that's why you will see most of the time when your exam report comes out, you might see that pass and then fail, or sometimes it's pass and fail and fail. The reason is there is something called lower mark, and you need to qualify that, and on basis of that, the total percentages, total marks is considered. Okay, so that is why, remember, there is a minimum score which you need to consider, and there is something called as a pass score. When both of them are checked, it's a and operator. When both is true, this is true and this is true, then only you will get your exam clear. So most of the time you will see that one of them would be passed, the second would be fail, the result is fail. Sometimes you will also see that it's pass and but still it's fail, because might be there's chances that he's not reaching the minimum score for from that perspective. Okay, so that is what we have it in the CCI lab. So this is from the revised curriculum. That is what we are going to check. As I told you, it is just recently changed. September, October only it got changed to version 6.1. There is hardly some changes that's been introduced. Might be 4 to 5%. Rest remain the same. And there is no major changes. There is still ASA, there is still FTD, there is still remote access VPN, there is still site to site VPN. All the major topics remains the same. Okay, what is added and what is removed? Some corner scenarios, something which is deprecated, not being used. So they have added with certain more features. Okay, so they have added some cloud security now, which was not present earlier. They have added some dynamic object, which was not present. They have, on other hand, they have removed this section completely, which was a module 2, secure connectivity. And then they have added something from the encryption point of view, some new things. So these are only the changes. Also, I'll also show you the hardware that is used in the real CCI exam. So this is from the official Cisco blueprint itself. So you will expect Cisco ICE 3.1.0, which earlier was in 2XX series, but now this time they are introduced the 3.1.0. This is the web security appliance. This is the email security appliance. So by the way, this is a AAA concept. This is where your uh, the phishing attacks and the threat attacks, right? So this is where we will see topics like the threat attacks. This is the next gen firewall, and they are using 7.1 now. Earlier it was a 6. Series. There is a NG IPS, okay, 7. Series. This is firepower threat defense 6.1, which basically could be 7 series also, because if they have introduced FMC to be 7 series, then definitely the FTD would also be 7.1. And the ASA would be 9.4. Then there is a CSR router. It's a iOS XE product. So in case you want to do Flex VPN, or you want to configure some layer 2 security, that is where this would be used. Okay. Stealth watch fire AMP. These are from controlling or shaping of your traffic. Wireless controller, DNAC. Remember, DNAC, we will not be having it from the SDA perspective. It will be from the assurance perspective and monitoring perspective. So usually what they ask is DNAC and Cisco eyes integration. Okay. A single lab would be single lab. That is what you can see from the DNAC concept. You will not see something what you see in this enterprise. In enterprise, you have you have a concept of SDA and a lot of things from SDA point of view. But here in the CCI security, it's only about eyes and DNAC integrations. Okay, and a L2 switches. So this is what the hardware will look like. Okay, and we will make sure when we are going with the training, we have this kind of hardwares with us. Usually, all my labs would be a massive lab where you will be working on multiple such nodes. I don't keep a very small lab. I try to keep a lab which could be replica of the real one. But definitely, we cannot do a exact lab, but we will try to have at least a model which can give you enough ideas on how the actual lab could. And remember, these are all the virtualization. Okay, but there are some concepts which cannot be virtualized, right? So the actual lab will also have some physical units. So ASA, switches, and some access point. This is because you need to do context and cluster, which you cannot do on a virtual ASA. For that, you need a physical box. This is from the point of onboarding, and this is from the point of onboarding to the VLC, because we had VLC, which is a virtualized centralized controller, and this is the actual access point. So you will expect some physical units and some of them or most of them as a virtualized unit. Okay, and as this has been introduced now, so this is something you can expect, and definitely some test machines, and this is to generate or to initiate a attacks. Right, in CCI Sec, it's more about generating attack or mitigating the attacks. So this is where we can initiate the attack. This is from the point of remote access VPN, right? And this is from the certificate perspective, because we will have some labs based on CS certificates, certificate based. And this would be from the host perspective for the testing. Are you able to connect? Are you able to ping? So this is how it looks like. Okay. I'll also show you one CCI mockup practice lab. Okay, from the official link. Yeah. So this is how the practice lab look like. Yeah. If you see this lab, this is a practice lab. You want this is open source. It's in the official Cisco. You can take the screenshot of it as well. So remember, in the CCI sec, we don't do anything on a router or switches. The IPs would be pre-configured. The routings would be pre-configured. So that's not something we would be performing in the CCI sec. So what are we going to touch would be from the ASA perspective, Cisco eyes perspective. It could be WSA, ESA, NGIPS, FMC, or onboarding to the eyes or DNAC. So this would be what we would be performing in the CCI security or any security related labs. Okay. So this is just an example to just show you how actually the main lab would look like. You can expect some more devices in the main exam, but this is much more sufficient for you to practice. You can do almost all the technologies here, okay, in this particular lab. All right, so come back. We were talking about the hardwares that we expect on the CCI set. And as I was telling, this is a pipeline that I would follow. ASA FTD first, then to the score, SVPN, Cisco ICE, ESA WSA, and the CCI bootcamp, which would be total around 5 to 6, 7 months of program training. It's a weekend only, daily 2 hours of classes. All right. And before I go into something, let me show you some labs that we usually have it for the trainings that we will. So this is the ASA FTD lab. Okay. So on this particular lab, you can lab almost all the topics. So there is a evaluation license of 90 days on FMC FTD. So you can do a lot of things. You can also do the IPS and the intrusion prevention concept. You can do the ACP concept. You can do pre-filtering, route mode, the transparent mode, everything that is possible in this. Okay. Similar way for the score lab, we will have this lab. So the participant would get this lab. So again, I have designed score considering the actual lab. So you will find a lot of things. Let me just zoom in. So this is where you have the virtual ASA firewalls, and this is where you have those physical ASA firewalls. So you can do cluster and context over at this point. Okay, and all that VPNs, remote access VPNs. I have also deployed a IPS. So in case if you do not know what is IPS, it's a intrusion prevention system. Basically, this node is kept in between so that it can sense what kind of traffic is going across in your network. And if anything has to be taken action upon, it will be sending you the report. So there are different types of deployment process. You can have it inline. So now, right now, this is inline because all the traffic is moving intermediately from it. You can also keep it passive in the sense behind a network switch. So a copy of the traffic will be shared to it, right? So we'll talk about that. Those are all part of the ASAFTD actually. So where is the layer 2 attack? So layer 2 attack we will do here. We have a Kali Linux. We will do all the control plane attack, management plane attack, data plane attacks. We have the WSA here, web security appliances. I will show you how how you onboard this, how you bring this up, how do you enable the WCA redirection here. Okay, so this is from the Score lab. There are some VPN topics in the Score as well, side to side, DM VPN, Flex VPN. So that's why we have kept this block. Okay, so I showed you the ASA FTD. I have shown you the S Core. I'll also show you SVPN, which is also one of the module. So this is from the VPN perspective. Okay. So let me also show you the curriculum of each one of it. So you can correlate how the topics looks like. Let me go to certification, expert security, click the CCNP security. This is one of our lab which I showed you, score exam. Then we have the firepower, which is next gen. We have Cisco ICE. All right. Then we have VPN, and this is from the web security, and this is from the email security. Okay. And not the list, the final CCI bootcamp, which is again a separate syllabus. Actually, it's not separate; it's part of whatever we would be learning. So it's kind of a boot camp that we would do it for the final CCI security. So where's the firewalls? Let me open that. So the firewall one, I'll just show you CCNP security, and this is the one. Okay, I'll just arrange it one by one. So the ASA comes under this 30010 SNCF. Okay. And why ASA? Because on top of ASA is where you have the firepower module, and that's acting as a base. And a lot of questions are still asked from the ASA itself. And a lot of enterprise are still using this legacy firewall, even though that's the end of life. But from the exam perspective, we have to prepare ourselves for ASA. All right, now you see this. This is the PDF. What do we have on the firewall side? So we will talk about deployment, okay, ASA and FTD deployments. We'll talk about the configuration, ASA and FTD. We'll talk about the management and troubleshooting and integrations. Both considered, ASA and FTD considered. So this will take 1 to 1.5 months, and for this purpose, I would be giving you this lab. Let me show you also our lab that would be used for firewalls. So this would be the lab which I will give you during ASA FTD. Once we are done with that, then I'll move to, let's say, score paper. Let me show you the score topic. S score, score, whatever you want, you can call it S score. So this also touch base a lot of topics here. You have the security concepts, VPNs, DM VPN, Flex VPNs, the common attacks. You have network security, layer 2 attacks, AAA. Okay. You have some automation topics like netconf, restconf, APIs. Then you have a secure the cloud concept. You will have content security. So this is where I kept ESA and WSA, because web and secure email security deployment is to be shown. Okay, endpoint protection. Here is where that AMP and stealth watch would come. And finally, there will be something to do with .1x, Mab Lab. Okay, so for all this, Cisco ICE is needed. So for this particular module, SCORE, even though it is a MCQ, but I will give you a better lab, not a lab with 1 or 2 notes. I'll definitely give something which is worth for that particular topic. So that would be this one. Yeah, this one. So you have all those devices which I just discussed. We have ESA, we have WSA, we have IPS, we have the iOS XE here, right? We have Kali Linux server here. And for restconf and netconf, we will make use of this section. So this section would be used for the restconf, netconf, okay, some automation topic that we will see from this core perspective. Okay, then which module? So after this core paper, we will touch base Cisco ICE or Cisco SVPN. Both are interesting topic. So SVPN is one of the smallest among all, and also very interesting topic because most of the VPNs you might have come across. So we have remote access VPN, client and clientless. We have site-to-site VPN. We will have get VPN, flex VPN, DM VPN. So these are some of the VPNs that we will cover here. Okay. So they expect us from configuration, troubleshooting, and a design perspective, like how are they connected? Like, is it a site to site? Is it a hub and spoke? Is it hub to hub? Is it need any high availability? There are concept of key servers when we talk about get VPN. When we talk about DM VPN, we talk about hub concept, right? So all this we will cover in this particular lab. Okay, so this is where we will do all those things. So we have remote access VPN, then we need a management PC. We need a site-to-site VPN, then we need this kind of connectivity. We need a DM VPN, I'll take a DM VPN concept here. I need a get VPN, I will have it here. I have a key server here. Okay. So from the high availability perspective, from the AAA perspective, from the AnyConnect perspective, everything is doable in this particular lab. Okay. And during the PKI or the CA certificate, we will have our own Win server. We will use it act as a CA server so that I can actually, instead of my pre-shared key, I can use a certificate to get it authenticated. Okay. The key exchange would be over on the certificate basis. So this will be my SVPN lab. Okay. And what do we have next? For Cisco ICE, I will have another lab which I'll show you. Let me first open the PDF. Yeah, this is a Cisco ICE, and most of the topic you can expect from this. This is a very interesting technology. You have wired, wireless, AAA, posture concept. A lot of things you will see in this particular thing. Okay. So for this, I can actually keep it in multiple of them because we cannot do a lab only with a ICE server. Okay, you need to have some other components because ICE is acting as a AAA. So you need to have other components as well. So don't expect that ICE will be another lab with only ICE kept in that. With what are you going to keep it or integrate? That matters. So let me show you one more lab, which would be my lab for the boot camp as well. Okay, just a minute. Let me see from the back end what is causing it delay to open. Just a minute. Let me just check something. So guys, I'm over here. Do not move. I'm just checking something from the back end. So might be my private IP would have got changed, or might be it would have been powered off. So let me just check. Yeah. So it has been powered off. Let me bring this up because we have our own pod, and sometimes during the maintenance we do restart. Sometimes we shut down, right? So for some reason it was down. So let me bring it up. So meanwhile, guys, remember the labs are 24 bar 7. Once you enroll, you are given the lab as per the module we are going through. There is no time limit. We are not going to give it for 2 hours or 4 hours. It will be 24 bar 7. Workbooks would be given. We would be following class by class process. There will be backend people in case you're stuck with your infrastructures, lab, accessing nodes, or any XY reason. There would be technical people who will, can help you with the needful things. Okay, so I just have bring up this, and I was talking about the Cisco Eyes module, right? So for Cisco Eyes, and finally with the CCI Security Bootcamp, right? So this include all the topics that we would have covered. You can see over here, we will be, so from the CCI Bootcamp, we will have ASA, FTT, IPS, right? The concept of clustering, high availability policies, routing protocols, the VPN concepts, the attacks and all the control planes, some of the monitoring tools, monitoring protocols, the Cisco ICE topic, and the threat protection, okay, IPS topic. So for this, we will be leveraging on this lab. So in this lab, you can pretty much do a lot of things from VPN configs, site-to-site VPNs. Okay, this is something built based on the Cisco official uh, practical practice lab. Okay, not exactly the practice lab, but something which would look similar to practice lab. So you can expect that uh, once you have the access to these things, and you are good enough to practice it multiple times, definitely the CCI lab would be, on a very on an easier side for you, because you would be going through a thorough hands-on, the time management and lot of things will make a lot of difference. Okay, so that is what I had to show you from the module perspective. I believe you're clear with the modules and the process of the training. How would we start? What comes first? What goes second? What comes next? And always there are my backend who would answer you for any onboarding questions. How do you onboard? How do you enroll? How do you download that? How do you download this? So we have a dedicated team who will also help you, and they will help you with the contact details over on the chat as well. All right. So let's move on. We are done with module discussion. At least we are good with whatever we know from the module perspective. Now we can discuss it on technical concept. Okay. So from the technical concept, I know you guys have been attending this from a workspace, or might be you might be traveling, you might be outside. So I'll not keep it a very in-depth topic, but we can touch base some concept today. Okay. So from Cisco ASA perspective, because as we know, this is the first module we would be going through. So what do you understand by Cisco ASA, right? So let's say any firewalls, okay, irrespective irrespective of Cisco, anything like let's say Palo Alto, FTD, Checkpoint, Sophos, how are they different from a router, a regular router? So do you guys aware of anything which you think a firewall could be different? You can use the chat window in case if you want. Have you guys ever heard about anything about firewalls? Yes, no. How many of you have worked on firewalls here, and how many of you not? Okay. Okay, so some say no, some say yes. I'll just put down some topic in case if you know, you can also pen down and I'll mention over here. So see guys, over on firewalls, it's a regular network devices, but what special things about it? What routers cannot do? First let's write what it can do. Can I expect a routing on a firewall? Let me keep this interactive. Let's say now you have an option to unmute. So if I ask you if a firewall can be a routable device, can it support routing?
Yes,
Okay. Can it support switching?
it can be deployed in a layer 2 mode too.
Yes. So if you put it in a transparent mode, it will act as a L2 only bridge concept. Can I add ACLs?
Yes, router and firewall both support.
Yes, we can add ACLs.
Okay. Can I configure VPN?
Yes,
Okay. Can I uh,
but the types of VPN would be different on a firewall from
okay, fine. So let's say a simple VPN as of now. So simple VPN supported in both the case.
both of them. Yep.
Okay. So these are the similarities. Now let's say what are firewalls different than router? How are firewalls different than router? Can I expect a stateful inspection at this point? Can I expect that at this point on a router side?
No,
No. But what is stateful inspection? So basically, stateful inspection is keeping track of all the ongoing connections, that is between source to destination to source, so that you don't need another bidirectional rules sometimes to to for the written traffic. So all the connections will be stored in the connection table. There would be a connection table maintained by the firewalls, and they keep all the ongoing connections records over there. It's a temporary one. Once the connection has happened, there will be some hold timer, and after that hold timer, that connection will disappear from the connection table as well. But in the case of router, there is no such concept of any such tables. Have you heard about packet inspection and filtering? Can that be supported over here? Packet filtering or inspection?
Not on the router.
Yes. So not on the router, but yes on the firewall side. This
Firewall,
is also called a DPI, deep packet
deep
inspection.
packet.
Now it is not just going to look into your header, but it can also look it into your data and match with the signature, and then decide whether this is a genuine traffic or this has to be dropped. Okay, that's called a deep packet inspection. Uh, Access. Okay. Have you heard about something called let's say something called IPS feature, IPS and IDS feature? Will this support that?
Yes,
No,
it is support
router
in
will not.
firewall, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So here you will expect it to be supported. You have different ways to get connected or deploy. There is a inline method. There is a passive method. There is also something for hybrid method. Depends on how you deployed it in the network. You kept it inline, or you are sending the copy of it, or you are having a mixed both inline and in some requirement for some traffic as a passive. That you will not expect in a router. Okay. So that's also something which you will see on a firewall side. Have you heard about SSL encryption and decryption?
Yep.
Right. So you will not you can expect that at least in the router scenario, but the problem is the other things might be causing an impact due to a lot of encryption decryption that's happening on a low end router, because usually these are capable for your routing packets or a NAT traffic, etc. But there can be problem when you have a lot of encryption decryption, whereas on a firewall side they are specialized device to take care of the SSL encryption decryption as well. Okay, so this is some major changes. And also let me tell you from the packet perspective, on a firewall, by default, all the traffics are getting denied or dropped. But in the case of a router will first check if there is a data plane movement, or if it is a routed traffic, it will go to control plane, check the routing table, and then it's go out the direction of traffic. So there is nothing called explicit deny in this. Whereas here you will have an explicit deny. Guys, I put some people on mute. Okay. So you will expect some deny in this case. By default, all the traffics are denied. So how do you keep moving the traffic? By adding ACL. So you will add ACL, you will say that allow this traffic, the traffic will move. If there is no such ACL, then by default, all the traffics are getting dropped. But on the other side, all the traffic will check the routing table, make the decision, and go out. But if there is no such traffic, then only they are getting dropped. That is not because of packet filtering. They are because of not having a proper route to go outside. Okay. So that's also a difference between how a firewall and a router is. So you might have done a lot of routing and all those stuffs in a regular enterprise, but when you go to the security side, this is something which will be seen. So you will see the production scenarios like let's say unblock of certain port. They would give you the source and destination and ask allow you to allow the traffic, or they can ask you to set up a VPN from your branch to might be a client, right? Or they might ask you to upload the security policies, or there could be a project called cleanup security policies, because you might have a lot of such policies, but might be not all of them are active, or not they are something you, so you have some cleanup process. You can also expect something to do with object groups. This is again not found in a router or a switch, but you will see it here. You will see something for SSL decryption, encryption. You will see something for um let's say in the case of what else can you see? Unblock, VPN, security policy cleanup, object group, SSL, right? So this is also called as port unblocking. Okay, security policies have mentioned already. You can also keep it for AAA concept. You can also onboard the certificate directly on the firewalls. Okay, if you don't have a Windows server or something, the firewall can also act as a certificate to be hosted. All right, so these are some protection things what you will see from respective to uh, firewalls, irrespective of Cisco or whatsoever. A small story. So let's say this was the initial product from the firewall line of product. This is the first product, Cisco Pix, and that got end of life by 2008. Then comes the Cisco ASA, and it was used for almost like 20 years. Okay, and then it got end of life some time back. But this is the most run product. You can see from 5505 going till 5585. This was the line of product capable of single soup, multi soup, multi chassis. Lot of big hardwares were being developed in the Cisco AC. And then comes the need for IPS. So what used to happen in this scenario was there was a additional component that used to be added. Okay, but then what happens is there was a need for next gen firewalls, which can do packet inspection and a lot of other behavior. Because if you know, Cisco ASA is a layer 3, layer 4 product. It's only OSI layer 3 and layer 4. So there was a need when you have something from layer, let's say from layer 2 to layer 7. Okay, and there is when this Palo Alto, Checkpoint, FortiGate, they were more popular. So what Cisco did, Cisco purchased uh, a third party entity which were into security, and that was called as SourceFire. And after the purchase, they renamed with Firepower. Okay, and that is when they integrated all this ASA product with the firepower features and labeled with ASA X. So you could see a lot of product like being labeled with this. So if you see this, that means they are capable of both ASA and firepower on the top of ASA product itself. Okay. But then what happened was Cisco wanted some unified solution. It don't want to rely on ASA. It wanted to have its own product. So there comes FTD, Firepower Threat Defense. Now you can expect all the blades inside this. You will have IPS, you will have the ASA features, you will have the snot engine, you will have the Lina engine, everything inside this. So this is what beyond 6 dot series you will see this. If you talk about the older version 5.x and 4.x, they were in the transition segment. Some of them were on top of ASA model, right? Somewhere on ASA, somewhere on virtualized concept, and there comes the unified solution then. So nowadays we are using most probably we are going with FTD only. But some customer who are still using ASA and might have upgraded to these ASA plus firepower features, they might still be using, but those are also end of life. There will be no tax support and no RMA done. So until they are running, people will use it. And on one fine day, if that stop, then they will move on to the FTD. So that is how every company, small scale segment do. And not just that if a product is launched immediately, they move on to something. It's all about cost as okay. Yes, that's right. ASAs are very heavily used even now. Okay, so this is what that model would look like, and this is a picture to represent that. So 5505, 5510, 5520. You have 5585. So the difference, I'll just tell you, some of the entry level ASA was only supporting active and standby HAs. That's high availability. But then onwards, they started supporting both active and also active and standby. Okay, there are some Cisco FTD product lines which I'll show you on the website directly. So if you go to the product security, and by the way, FTD names have been renamed. Now they call as a secure firewalls. Okay. We used to call Cisco FTD and all those things. Now they call as secure firewalls. If I click on firewalls, you can see the new name being reflecting. So you can see here secure firewalls. So what are the different versions available? So based on customer requirement, if it's a small business branch, you have the FTD's 1000 series. If it is a medium sized, then 3000 series. For speed, scalability, 4000. And this is for from the service provider point of view. Okay. And there are some IPS devices, some WAF devices, threat defense devices. So let me just show you, let's say 4200, which is for a large enterprise. You can expect this Cisco secure firewall. You call them as Cisco secure firewall, no more FTD. So this transition happened last year. Okay. So for the data sheet, like what they do, what they support, there's a link here, view data sheet. Okay, so this is 4200. This is how the model look like. What they do, the throughput, the IPS throughput, the next gen throughput, the regular firewall throughputs, the interfaces that it supports. Okay, so this is all from the data sheet, which is something you guys can go to product and take it out. So when do you think you need the data sheet? It's when you are in the design or you are basically a consultant and you are providing the needful details to your client. So you need to understand their requirement, what is their usage, what is the purpose, how many number of users are going to get connected, how many VPNs they need, and on that basis, you need to decide a appropriate one. So for a very normal usage, you cannot suggest something because this will be like 10 times more than this, right? So you have to come see the data sheet, read it, see which one is an appropriate one, and then accordingly suggest it. Okay. So that comes when you are actually giving a design or you are a consultant for a company or an enterprise company. Okay, so that was from the FTD products. And my notes would be something like this, guys, which you can download from the Google Drive. So those participants who are in our batch, you get this kind of notes which you can read. All right, there is a packet flow here. I'll just walk through over here. So when we talk about firewalls, any firewalls, packet flow is a very, very common question that's asked, might be in an interview, or you should know from the troubleshooting point of view. ACL comes first or NAT comes first. What happens when a packet is ingressing? What happens when the packet is uh, coming in for the first time? So, guys, is it for everyone that you are not able to see my screen? Yeah. So, Mustafa, I think you have to once. Maybe you can disconnect and connect. It should work. Okay. So we'll first talk about ASA. So let's assume that the traffic is ingressing. Okay. When I say ingressing, it means traffic is incoming. So the buffer count of the ingress interface increases by +1 because the traffic just comes in. Now it will check if this is an existing connection or it's a new connection. So if it is an existing connection, if it is yes, then it is going to avoid a lot of things because when the connection was initiated, it has already spent its effort to do the needful. Now it don't want to reinvest its effort or resources for the existing connection. It's like you know a person, you have a person, trustable person with an ID card who has gone out of the office. But when he comes back, do you still want to spend efforts on all screening, all documentation? Because he has gone out with your ID card, and when he comes back, he has your ID. Correct. So basically, this is when the trust level comes. If it is yes, if it's a connection there, then it will directly go to this section. So at this point of time, it will see if the traffic is to be allowed or if the traffic has any additional ACLs or it's a app-based traffic. And based on that, let's say if it is yes, if it is to allow, then it will go and perform the NAT translation and then it will go outside. So this is egress. It will check the L2, L3, and then it is going out of the Cisco box. Okay. So when something comes inside, okay, let's say this is your ingress port gig 0/0, it will do check the connection table, do bypass few couple of things, make the needful change, and it is out, depending upon what is the action rules that you set. If you set permit, deny, or whatsoever. Okay. So if it is permit, it will go out. If it is drop, then it will get dropped. So that is what happens in the case of connection existing connection. But what would happen if it was a fresh connection? This is coming from the for the first time. So I'll put a source. Let's say source is 2.1.1.1.1. Destination is 1081.1.1. Okay. Packet entered. Counter is increasing with +1. Connection table, no. It is going to create a connection now. Then it will go and see whether the route is available for this. Let's say yes, the route is available. Then it will check if the access list is present. If access list is present, then it will go and uh, see if it is a NAT traffic. It will remove the NAT header and see what is the real IP behind it. Then it will check if this needs any app rules. Is there any uh, special rules inside this? Let's say there is nothing there. If it is, then it is going this way to drop it. But if it is not, then it will go here. It will check the NAT rules. It will see the egress traffic. It will see the L2, L3 headers. And depending if it is permit, then it will permit. Otherwise, it will deny or drop it. Okay, so this is what happens in a simple ASA. There is no DPI. Remember, there is no deep packet inspection. That you will see in the firepower scenario. So firepower consists of two modules. One is not process, and the second one is a Lena process. This is from the IPS perspective, and this is from your regular firewall perspective. Okay. Same thing, when a packet comes in, the interface buffer counter increased with +1. If it is an existing connection, it will bypass few things. It will go to the data acquisition, and then it will go to flow update, algorithm check, NAT header, QoS, VPN encryption, decryption, L3, L2, and it is out. Okay, in case if it is an existing connection. But not all connections are existing. Sometimes some connections are fresh. They are just totally new, right? So let's say new connection comes in 1.1, 1.1, destination 2.2, 2.2, 2.2. Now +1 on the interface, existing connection, no. Now it will try to see if this is a VPN encapsulated or NATed traffic. It will decrypt them because it has to see the actual IP behind it. Then there is a concept of pre-filter policy. So pre-filter is like a VVIP traffic. Okay, I believe you understand what is VVIP. VVIP in the sense very important traffic. You have predefined it. You have said anything coming from this to this is something which I am aware of. I know this is a customer traffic. Let him not go via this not process or not elsewhere. I can make him to push via fast path. So that traffic will go through fast path and then happen with this process and they're out. Okay, that is when that pre-filter is applied. But if it is not a very important traffic, if there was no pre-filtered defined, then those packet will proceed further. Okay, they will proceed to L3, L4 ACL. They will go to the not process now because they are a first time packet. And by default, this next gen firewall like FTD, they will do the snot inspection. So there are two engines now. One is called Lena engine. Second one is called Snot engine. Okay, so this is for your regular firewall concept. This is for your IPS and threat inspection concept. Now, when they enter this Snot engine, you can see there are some security inspections. There is a defrag policies, SSL decryption, L7SI, identify policy, access control policy, QoS, network discovery, file policy, again based on file signatures. So most of the things works here on signature. If it's a known data signature, if it is not, In case you do not know what it belongs to, then Cisco has something called as Talos. It's a cloud feature. So it can check in the backend if the signature matches to something which might have classified just an hour back. And if it is not finding it, then there are a lot of places where it can drop it. It can drop here, it can drop here, it can drop here, it can drop here, it can also drop here. Okay, so your packet which enters not pros is not again one step. It is going through multiple steps, and there are chances it can drop any point of time. But let's say if packets still survive, that's all going through a very genuine process. So let's say if packets still survive, then it will come back. Then it will follow the regular concept of what we had like ASA, and then it will go out. So this is what happens in a next gen firewalls. Every firewall have their own concept. Palo Alto has something called as SP3. Okay. The FortiGate has its own way. The checkpoint got its own way. So every firewall will have their own packet flow. We are talking from FTD because we are on today's class we are actually discussing about CCI security. So from Cisco perspective, we are covering Cisco's ASA and FTD. Okay, so this is something which I wanted to show. Now just a general things like we can just discuss quickly on few other items. Do you know the different deployment methods for ASA or let's say FTD? Deployment in the sense, uh, how are these deployed? Like they are deployed in a routed way or transparent way. Okay, just let me put down. So let's say it can also be deployed. The interfaces of ASA can be deployed in a routed mode and over on a transparent. Okay, you can also deploy ASA based on a context. Okay, context is nothing but you have a single piece of hardware but logically dividing in four different units. Okay, so this will have its own RAM and CPU dedicated to a client. This will have its own RAM and CPU dedicated to another client, and so on. So that's a context. Okay. You do this because you don't want client one facing an issue because of client two is over accessing the detail, right? That happens. So you are logically dividing in four different blocks. Okay. So ASA can also be deployed in that way. When coming to FTD, FTD can be deployed in a routed way. It can also be deployed in a uh, inline method. Okay, inline is when those IPS concept of FTD comes in. You can also deploy this in a transparent mode. Okay, but you cannot have a context now. FTD don't support context. Okay, so there are different other ways to have this concept, but FTD don't support this. Okay, so you have inline, which is IPS. Again, there is another deployment strategy when we talk about that, whether that's inline that or that's passive or it would be hybrid. Okay, so this comes when we talk about deployment of IPS. So there are three different deployment for a IPS depending upon what is the scenario. Uh, in a Cisco's exam, you can expect it kept in a inline, and the question is framed on basis of inline. Okay, and let me also show something from the lab. If I go back, FTD ASA. So see, these are some of FTDs and these are some ASA units. So if I open up ASA box, this would be very regular to your router and switches, but commands should be little different. Like this don't work. It would be this command. Okay. Similar way, this would not work. It would be this command. Okay. And most of the things would work as it is. Show version, show clock, show running config. So usually, how do we manage Cisco ASA? We have a proper regular CLI, and I can also use its ASDM. ASDM is the front end or the graphical mode of this. So we have two ways to access a ASA unit. So you go to config T, you take up any interface, you define it as inside zone, you give its IP addressing 1.1.1.1, 255.255.255.0, no shutdown, description, let's say towards inside, right? A very, very regular feeling of having a router in front of me. But as I told you, it's ultimately a firewall, right? So it has its own capabilities. So those capabilities are mentioned here. It has particularly this device. You can have maximum 50 VLANs. You have unlimited host allowed. You can have only active and standby failover concept. You have encryption DES. You have 3DS EDS. Context, this is not supported, but I will have another firewall, physical firewall, which will support context. Context and cluster needs the real device. Okay, the virtual don't work. And any connect for the VPNs and all those things. So as I told you, these firewalls will support switching, routing, ACLs. So most of commands you would be familiar with, but little different. Let's say now you cannot configure IP route like this. The command would have been something like this: route, mention the ingress interface, mention wherever you're pushing it. Let's say this is the destination. This is the net mask. Uh, any gateway. Let's say this is your gateway. See, this is how you configure it. Again, bit different commands on a Cisco box. Okay. Similar way, if I go towards the FTD and FMC, FTD is that standalone appliance, and these are being centralized, taken over by FMC. FMC act as my centralized controller. Okay, so I'll first open my management PC, and then I'll put down my IP address of FMC. So let's say it's at so and so. I'll log into that admin network journey. You can though see the CLI of a FTD, but they would not be as usual as the ASIC. Okay, they're not gonna be having show IP in brief or the show versions. This will have a very separate lines of command. I'll show you some commands for FTD as well. Okay, so the initial credential is admin and admin 123. Okay, then it will ask me to accept these initial messages. Okay, let me see if I can bring this. Okay, fine. So this is live. Okay, see, when I want to configure something, I go with this kind of command, configure network. Let's say I wanted to change the host name, right? So I can say that FTD one primary enter. Okay, I don't allow underscore. Let me put hyphen. See, something like this. Whereas on ASA firewall, it was a conf t and then you put host name and you change it. So if you are on a ASA box, you do host name and you change it, whatever you want to add it. So it will gonna change. So ASAs are pretty much similar to regular routers, but not at least in this. And FTDs are all part of next generation. So you don't uh, you're not preferred to use CLI. CLI it would be for your troubleshooting or initial IP config. That's all. Okay, they are not meant for uh, your regular commands or show commands and etc etc. That is why we need a front end for this. Okay, so to have the access of front end, we must see if we have attached to one of our manager or not. See, right now it's not mapped, but you should map it when you do this command configure manager add. And what is this guy? This guy is located at 100 200, right? So I'm going to give that IP 192.168.100.200, and then a key is needed. So let's say Cisco 1234 is my key. And the same thing also has to be added up on the FMC. So first what I need to do is first I have to bring up my license, evaluation license. Usually there will be 90 days of evaluation license. So you can see that it's already activated by me like 2 3 days back. Once this is done, then I go to device section, device management. I'll go and click on device and I will add it. So this is a FTD. Okay, this is 192.168. What's the IP from the topology? Let's say 100.201. This is FTD1. The registration key that I set was Cisco 1234. Group none. This is access control policy, which you see in a next gen firewalls like FTD. This is like a base policy. So initially there will be nothing. I'll create a new policy. I'll say that this is SCP, short form of access control policy. And then I'll say that there is no base and by default block all the traffic. Click on save. Okay. And if you have the license for all this, you can enable it and then you can click on register. So if they are being in a same, okay, I see this is down. So if they are in a network, they have a reachability, the process will initiate and you should see this getting onboarded to FMC. Okay. And if that is good, you will see that the things getting onboarded here. Okay, but for that this device should have been up because we have all that VLANs and all those things. Yeah, it's just coming up now. Okay, so we have some VLANs on that switch. So that is a very important component to bring this up because this will be happening on management VLAN 100. So we have done the needful L2 and L3 because this is a security lab, so we will focus on the security concept. Okay, so what does our show manager says? Okay, it's in pipeline. That's why it shows this. Okay, now you can see that it's completed. You can see from the FMC as well, your FTD is onboarded. So this is how you onboard the device. Even in the exam, CCI lab exam, usually FMCs would not be onboarded. You have to do that process because there would be tasks related to VPNs to be done, right? And you need this onboarded step. So this is how you do the onboard, and then you can click on that, and the device will open up for you. And I'll just walk through a bit on the FMC. So this is where you will see the routing config. Okay, all the route related configs would be here, interface here, inline. If you remember, if the same device was being kept as a IPS, so you can set this as a inline, right? And all the things related to policies related to access control, intrusion, malware and file, DNS, identity, SSL, pre-filter. See, this is where the pre-filter, VVIP traffic. If you define this beforehand about this source, that destination, then the traffic can get itself skipped going through this NOT process. Okay. I'll just show you how you add a policy in the FMC. So there is an option here. Okay, so you have to basically write another policy, new policy. You can call it as VVIP for client one. Save it. Okay. Now you can write your pre-filter rule. So pre-filter rule, you can label it. You can say that this is for the VVIP client one. And what do you want to do with that? You want to block, you want to prefer fast path. Okay, fast path. Do you want to set a time range for this preference? If the traffic is coming 9 to 5, I will allow it. If it is coming beyond 5, then no, it's not fast path. It could be something else, right? So that you can add it here. There's a plus symbol. You click that and you can set the timers here. Otherwise, regular options, network object, where you can select the source. You can have the source added. You have to create the source. There is an option to create it. You can also add networks like allow any, or you just want some multicast packets to be allowed, not all any to any. Okay. So this is how you can define the pre-filter config, and there's option to save, and the minute you click on save, it will ask you to deploy. When you deploy that, it will go to the actual device. Okay, so that is the way we deal FTD FMC. Okay, similar way, you have Palo also have a candidate file, and you have to click on the candidate file to get the deployment done on the devices, right? See, this is where the object comes. You have an object management. So all the object management is here, AMP is here, anti-malware protection. This is the threat intelligence, okay, from the IPS IDS perspective. You can also create VPNs when you click on device and site to site. You get this kind of option: node A, node B. Node A in the sense local device, node B in the sense peer device. So you can click on this, and then you can select which type of VPN you want. Is it a point to point to hub to spoke, or full mesh? So let's say if it is a point to point, then you will decide whether it's a crypto based or it's a dynamic VTY route based. Let's say it's a crypto map. You just name it that this is a New York to, let's say, Delhi. Okay. And then you select from the list who is your node A and who is your node B. There's a plus symbol here. You click that, you will get the FTD1 or FTD2. You select which interface you want it to be, the outside interface. What is the IP set over on that? Is it a bidirectional or it's a unidirectional? Okay, see, you can see the different option. You want it to be bidirectional, or always originate from this point, or this is just answer only, right? And then you can select the networks that you want to protect over on this site A to site B, because not all network we prefer pushing over on the VPNs. So that is how you select node 1, node 2, select the networks, and in case you want to do any changes with version 2 or version 1, you have an option to select it. Okay. You can select whether version 2 or version 1. Click on save. It will come up here, and then you deploy this. Okay. So this is how it's managed FTD. You cannot go and do the regular commands here. It's like 5-10% we will use it for the initial config and troubleshooting, but most of the time it will be the FMC that will be used, and all my devices will be listed under device management. So if I have 2 FTD, 3 FTD, I will see it here. If it is down, then also I will see a red color of alert stating that it's down or I've lost the connectivity. Okay, so I think we covered some technical aspect along with the modules, and I'll give you this link. So this has more details. Okay, might be the dates would not match because I have not updated it before this demo. But you can get all the detail once you contact our backend, and they will guide you with all the needful things. Okay, and the format would remain as I shown you some time back. We will start with ASAFTT, Score, SVPN, Cisco Eyes, and then Bootcamp. The labs are given to you, which are 24 bar 7 open, and you will have the access to it. These are some topology for the labs which I was discussing. This is where the topics are for each one of it, which you can also take from the Cisco official website. Okay. So this is something which you can go through. And if you have any question, you can let me know. Otherwise, we are good to wrap. Contact the backend for the enrollment process. The actual class will commence from the next weekend. So next weekend from 9 p.m. we will start the log session. So that will be accessible by the participants who have enrolled. So
Labs can be on our laptop also or only in remote.
You can do it home lab also, because we will provide you the OVA files for them. So the ready-made files will be given, and our backend will help you to deploy in your machine. But they will be very heavy, high resources. So if you have that much of capability in the laptop, you can take it. Okay, so this lab will take at least 32 GB minimum for the FTD ones, because they are very, very high resources. If I show you the FMC alone, you can see it FMC one node will take 16 GB, and on other side FTD will take 8 GB. So if you have such resources, we can help you, we will help you to deploy. If it is not, then you can rely on our remote lab, which is 24 bar 7 open.
Okay. And
So
what
is it
about
on
class recordings?
like
Are there
cloud,
like
right?
for every class?
It is on cloud, but it is on our side. Okay, so you can access it from any places.
From any place, right?
Yes,
Okay.
you can access it from any places. There is no need of any special VPN or anything to access it. We will give you a simple URL. You log into that and you will get access to the lab.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Sir,
we have a class tomorrow, and that class I will focus from firewall mastery. I might be discussing about from the Palo Alto perspective, because I already done something for Cisco today. So I'll show you some Palo Alto related concept. Yes, go ahead. Someone was.
yeah. Sir, if someone has enrolled for CCNP Security, then would it be the same? The
Yeah,
score
if
exam?
you
Is it
enroll
just the
CCNP, yeah, if you enroll CCNP security, then you will be part of two modules only. One would be the ASA which we are starting, and score paper. So two modules you will be having the access.
okay? And that would cover in how many months?
That will be 2 to 3 months, or two
Che-
to 3 months of it.
Okay, so sir, the score exam would it be same like for CCIE and CCNP? Is it just
Yes,
the multiple
yes, it
choice?
is. It is same for everyone.
Okay, and for the concentration module, since we have a choice, like we can just choose one module out of like many, right? So, what would you suggest? The ASAFTD would be the best one, or
Yeah, that would be the easiest one among all. Otherwise, we
okay,
go with SVPN. It's kind of good enough, but I will be bit
SVPN.
difficult for you to digest. So I prefer ASA FTD will be much easier for you.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Sagar.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, Sujat.
Hi. Regards to the FTD, how deeply you will drive here? Yani uploading the certificate, generating the certificate. Do it required? Yani renewing certificate? You will explain deeply here, FTD.
Yeah, we will be relying on self-signed certificate. So one server will be kept in this, and using that, we will be showing how to onboard the certificate and how the SSL encryption, decryption will happen. Okay, so I'll touch base those topics here.
Great, great. Yeah. Just the basic is required. Yani we can do the practice,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lab as well.
Okay.
What about class recording?
Yeah, the class recordings, all the sessions are recorded, and we have our LMS. So all the materials will be placed there, and you will have lifetime access to that LMS.
Okay. So regarding the final lab solution, uh, like the classes would be going on, but if somebody wants to start practicing the actual lab scenario, do
Mhm.
we have it available in the lab practice?
You want the access of the materials, right? Yeah, we have the material access also. So
Okay,
you will get
because
access to the
uh,
lab and workbook. So
mhm,
if you want to follow the workbook and access, then you can do that as well.
yeah, because almost 50% aware of the CCIE track. So
Okay.
if you want to skip some classes and start, focusing on the lab practice, the actual lab solution. So I think that is available, and that is what I wanted to know.
Okay, okay, fine, okay, sure. All right, guys. So I think we are good for day. So those participants who were looking for CCI set, I have covered from that corner. So in the next class, expected from the firewall mastery, which is also a security track, and that would be focused on different firewalls and different things. We have Palo Alto, FI, LTM, Checkpoint, FortiGate,
One
and
last question. So
one of the
all of these
modules.
are part of the CCIE security module, or that is separate module? What you are showing?
It is a different module. Both are different
Okay,
courses.
different.
Yes, both are two different courses. Some need firewalls, some need OEM certificate, right? So both are different.
So the timing is going to be the same or different? What time is that on a weekend? The firewall mastery.
It will be different. It will be different, but for the ASA module, it's going to be the same. I'll just put down how this works. So let's say when I am taking the CCI set, so the modules here were SVPN, ASA, FTD, eyes, and what else? Let's say CCI bootcamp. And when I would be taking FW mastery, so there is a one module which is overlapping. So let's say PA, CP, FGT, ASA, FTD, F5, right? So since we are starting with ASA, so both of would be merged right now. Otherwise, when we are going with two different tracks, this is usually kept at 9 to 11 p.m. IST, and this is usually kept at 7:30 to 9 p.m. IST. Okay, just for ASAFTD, there will be merge. Otherwise, they will be in two different times.
Can we switch the timings?
Yeah, we can decide internally if there's no problem, we can switch it. Okay.
Yep, that would be awesome if we switch the firewall man, because I'm enrolled in the firewall mastery course.
Okay.
Yep.
Sure, sure. Okay, that we can discuss internally. Okay. But as of now, this is only one module, so it will be somewhere might be, or we can keep it early. I have no problem. We can keep 8:30 to 10:30 as well on weekends. So I believe I've answered all of your question, and if there is no further question, so let's wrap up and let's connect in the next workshop that will be happening tomorrow. Same bridge, same Zoom ID, but I'll be focusing from the firewall mastery concept. Okay. Have a good day and see you in the next session. Thank you, everyone.
See you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.